The Prophet by Abraham Cowley. So this poem is 3 stanzas long with 12 lines per stanza. The setting, it was written in the Renaissance era, we can tell by the language and when it was published. And the setting of the poem is a conversation tone. So he's either having a conversation with someone where he is doing all the talking, or he is having conversation to himself in his head. The point of view is first person protagonist because he is involved in the conversation. He is not watching, he is actually talking and doing in the conversation. The rhyme is, so we have wit, so that'd be A, and then it, be A, and then it changes to Jews, so that'd be B, and then stews, B, flattery, C, lie, C, whoops, and then blow, D, flow, D. So that continues on throughout the whole poem. So it's two that rhyme, and then it switches next to that rhyme, and so on and so on. And the meter is an occasional tetrameter. So we can see here it has 4 beats. So it's teach fire to burn and winds to blow, and teach restless fountains how to flow. So now we'll start with the title. The title is very important to the poem. So the prophet is symbolism because a prophet is someone sent by God to teach, and the prophet tells people what to do or what to believe. Now this is very relevant in this poem because the speaker of this poem he acts as a prophet because he says he knows everything about love, which we'll see further down in the poem, and that no one can question about it. So it's an exact example of what a prophet is. So at the first stanza, it starts off with, teach me to love, go teach thyself more wit. I am chief professor of it. Just these first 2 lines, we can see that he is very cocky about his knowledge. He is almost too good for others. He knows everything about love. He is the chief professor of it, which is very important. As he starts out, it's almost as a sarcastic tone because he's so confident. We can go on to some like analogies per se. It says teach craft to Scots and thrift to Jews, teach boldness to the stews, and it says teach fire to burn and winds to blow. So this is telling us that he is telling everybody things that they need to know and things that these groups of people or things need to be taught because it's what they do, because he is the one about love and these people need to do these things. There's also some imagery with fire to burn and winds to blow. And there's also some imagery with the fountains, restless fountains to flow. And then I think this is very important. So everything is non-italicized, not bold, regular font until we get to here. It says teach womankind inconstancy and pride, but womankind is italicized, which is very important. And then we get down to the last line, it says teach not me to love, and love is bolded. So we know that the main things in this poem, the most important parts are womankind and love. Those are the 2 things we are focusing on the most. Then we go down to the end, to the last line in the first stanza and the first few lines of the second stanza. So in the lines 12 through 14, teach not me to love, the God of love is such a thing there be, may learn to love from me. So this shows that he knows more about love than the God of love itself, and can even teach the God of love a few things about love. The God of love symbolizes a Greek god. So in Greek mythology, there's a god of love who is Eros. So he's referencing the god of all love. Then we go down a few lines and it says, he who does not boast that he has been in every heart since Adam's sin. So right here he's referencing Adam and Eve. So this from these few lines, I take it that he's symbolizing Adam and Eve because he's saying that love is in the heart since the creation of man, because Adam was the first man on earth, and he's saying love is in every man's heart. And then we come down here and it's every line starts with the same repetition. It says I'll, and I'll. So it shows that it is all about himself. He shows that he is overconfident, talking about I'll lay my life, I'll teach him things he never knew before, I'll teach him, I'll teach him, I'll teach him. So he believes that he can only teach, which relates back to the fact of the title saying he is the prophet. Only he can teach people and things about love. Then we have another example of imagery right here. It says, as light and heat does with the sun. That's a little imagery because, from the sun we have light, we have heat. That's what the sun gives off. Now on to the third stanza. So in the very first line, we see an allusion with Columbus. So, 'tis I who loves Columbus am, 'tis I who must new worlds in it discree, rich worlds that yield of treasure more. So I have an allusion with Columbus, that green. So he is saying that love is what we find as we explore, just as Columbus explored, and it holds great things. So love holds great things, the yield of treasure more, just as the Americas. Columbus found the Americas and it was great, so we have love and it is great. Let me go down here. And it says, my time to come, I know it, shall love's last and greatest prophets call. So he says as a prophet, he finds love for others, but he cannot find the love. So this is where the tone changes. I'm going to highlight these last 4 lines. This is where everything in the poem changes. I'm going to do a darker gray here. And so the tone changes. It's a contrast between the author. At the beginning, he's very confident, but his confidence lowers to a foolish man. But love, because it says, but what's that? If she refused to hear the whole doctrines of my muse, if to my share the prophet's fate must come, hereafter fame, here martyrdom. So his demeanor changes from confident and untouchable to being afraid and doubting himself. He loses all hope because he can teach everybody about love because he is a prophet, but he cannot pursue his love / muse, which is a capital, so we know it's very important to him. It's his love, it's his muse, it's the reason he does everything. But he is afraid that she will refuse him and reject him. It's also very important to highlight martyrdom. So a martyr, so this is this is a good example of symbolism because a martyr is someone so it's symbolism because it's martyrdom is the death and suffrage of a martyr. So this means that he is suffering, and because if she refuses, he will die. If she refuses love, he will die. So overall, at the whole poem itself, there's a conflict with him internally with his love. He loves this woman, but he cannot pursue her, so he teaches everybody else about love, but he cannot find it within himself. And overall, there is a theme. At the first part of the poem, he's saying one should become smarter, and he's saying that he knows everything about love. He is the Almighty. He knows everything. However, at the end, with these last 4 lines, it changes. So the theme now is no matter how much confidence you have, there are always fears and emotions someone is holding back. So that means that no matter how much confidence this aka quote unquote prophet shows, he cannot mask everything. He still has emotions and he still has fears.